Let me start a little bit in Russian, because that's going to be for a bright audience. Здравствуйте всем. Меня зовут Ваишев Хайрат. Я являюсь репетитором, частным тьютором предметов Advanced Placement, A-Level, IB, таких как высшая математика, физика. И у меня сегодня на связи преподаватель ниш ФМН города Костанай, физик, также мой бывший коллега, мы с ним проработали вместе 5 лет, Джеффри Грант. Да, он у нас американец, наверное, уже многие догадались, что не местный. Вот. Но о чем мы сегодня хотим поговорить? Мы бы хотели обсудить, какие требования выставляют, наверное, приемные комиссии университетов для поступления учащихся, какие тестирования, стандартизированные тесты необходимо пройти ученикам, чтобы поступить в высшие учебные заведения. Ну и во многом Джефф будет делиться определенными инсайдами. So, Jeff, you graduated far along. I mean, it's been years that you graduated the school, right?
Yes, I graduated school and began university in 2007, and then a graduate school for a master's degree in 2011, and again applied and was accepted to graduate school in 2021. So my information about graduate school is far more current than my information about bachelor's and undergraduates, but I'll share what information I have.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyway, so can you a little bit tell us about your background? I mean, what school you studied, then when you graduated to school, what university you attended, how was the whole process?
So I studied in the United States. My school was in Washington, D.C., and after grade 12, I attended the University of Notre Dame in Indiana in the United States for a bachelor's degree. I finished that bachelor's degree after 4 years in 2011, and then I immediately began a Master of Education, also at the University of Notre Dame, and finished that in 2013. And finally, I am currently working on a second master's degree through the University of Pennsylvania, which I started in 2021 and will finish in December of this year.
Okay. So I've checked out currently the university that you said, and again, I'm going to switch between Russian and English, if you are not against that. Итак, вот Джефф сказал, что он учился в университете Нотр-Дам, это в штате Индиана, в Соединенных Штатах Америки. Вот в данный момент я просматриваю непосредственно веб-сайт, и он мне выдает следующие результаты, типичные результаты SAT, самого популярного теста при поступлении. Как вы знаете, SAT у нас делится на две части, это language, то есть English и math. Ну и стандартные результаты для language должны превышать 740, для maths превышают 710, то есть в сумме составляют 1450. То есть довольно высокий перцентиль для поступления именно в этот университет. And yeah, coming to the percentile, you probably heard the word that I said already. Yeah, if you don't mind sharing with us, when you were attending the university and you passed your SAT exam, right?
Correct.
Okay, so what percentile is typically was accepted at the University of Notre Dame the year that you were attending it?
Oh, I don't remember.
No idea. Okay.
My guess is it was lower, but I don't know. Generally speaking, for universities that have a good reputation, those scores tend to go up and up and up as more and more students in the United States are applying and going to university.
And also international students, I guess.
Yeah, same. But the more students who apply, the more selective they can be, and they tend to choose, obviously, students with the higher scores over students with lower scores.
Obviously, yeah.
What it was when I went there, I couldn't tell you. My guess is probably something in a similar range, but probably not quite as high.
Okay. So yeah, I checked the current information about the Notre Dame's ranking in the current year, actually, and it's in the national ranking best among all of the colleges of United States. It says it's number 18, which is I guess yeah, I need to tell for our audience, which is quite impressive because it's like a top 20 universities of United States, we can say.
Mhm.
So yeah, Jeff has quite great background. If you ask me about that, I mean, yeah. So we talked about the SAT. Do you actually remember the structure of the test, the times you were attending it?
Yes, and they've changed the structure just before I took it, and they changed the structure a few years after that I took it. When I took it, there were 3 parts. There was verbal or qualitative reasoning, which is mostly reading comprehension and language. And there was what they call qualitative reasoning, which is essentially mathematics. It doesn't include higher mathematics, like calculus is not included. It's all things that you would learn through like algebra 2. But the questions vary, of course, from relatively simple to very complex to sort of distinguish between the different students. At the time, there was also a writing section where you had, part of it was multiple choice questions where you had to answer questions about correct grammar. And part of it was writing an essay in about 25 minutes or 30 minutes. I believe they have since taken that out of the exam, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. Are there any other exams that you had to pass in order to attend the university?
There's not that I had to pass, but there's another exam that's also widely used for college admissions called the ACT. Most universities accept both, and they don't have a preference for which one you take. They're happy to take either the SAT or the ACT. So what we were suggested to do in school was to take both one time, and whichever one we did better on, to take it, study more for it, and take it again a second time, try to improve our scores if we weren't happy with our scores. There's an equivalent, you can look online, there's an equivalency table for what a given ACT score is equivalent to an SAT score that's used. If you can just look online, you would find it. The exams are structured fairly differently. The SAT measures more your aptitude, your ability to reason through a problem, and the ACT tests more specific skills that you should have learned in school to apply, like different processes and concepts of analysis to tasks.
I see. So from your point of view, which one was more difficult, ACT or SAT?
I did better on the SAT. I thought in terms of difficulty, I thought they were about the same, but I happened to get a better score on the SAT by like maybe 10% better, 25 or 15% better. It wasn't a huge difference, but the SAT scores are better, so I used those.
Okay, because the main difference, like the main reason I asked about that is like in Kazakhstan, for local students to attend that universities, they're mostly proposed to take SAT specifically, and not a lot of them know about existence of ACT either. So that's the main reason I actually asked. So maybe ACT is quite difficult for our students. That's why I asked.
I don't know. They used to, the advice we were given was that because the SAT studies more aptitude and the ACT studies more achievement or like skills that you already have, a lot of times students who have English as their second language do better on the ACT because it, like, the wording was often more straightforward in the questions. But that, again, that was a long time ago.
So
I mean, if you're not sure, if you go to their websites, they have example questions and the types of questions they ask on each section. You can see which kinds of questions feel more comfortable, more straightforward for you.
Okay. Yeah, so as I understood, like either of these exams was mandatory to enter the university, correct?
At the time I was applying to universities, you needed either one or the other. My understanding is that since the pandemic and since so many people have started working, or like since the rise of remote learning, a lot of universities now no longer require that you take one of those exams. However, a lot of them suggest it because it helps them to see whether you would be a good fit in terms of your abilities at that university.
Okay. And for our local students, another opportunity to show them the aptitude of themselves, I mean, to show themselves to that university is another chance to do that is another type of exam, which is called advanced placement exam. So as I know, you also passed them in the school, some of the classes. Can you tell us about that?
So the advanced placement exams are run by, I think it's either the same organization as the SAT or one of their rivals.
Yeah, it does. It does actually. It's College Board, the same organization.
And what it does is in the United States university system, if you take an exam after you've completed the course, you don't need to take a course to take the exam. It helps to have taken a course. Anybody can sign up for and take the exam. And depending on what score you get on the exam, not all, but many US universities will accept that as credit at the university. So for example, if you take, like I took advanced placement English language and literature, and I got a 5 on the exam, the scores out of 5. And when I went to university, most students had to take like a university writing course the first semester for 3 credits. And I was able to skip that course. I already had credit for it. So I was already like a little bit ahead of where I had to be starting university.
So when you were already the students of high school, you already passed that class, which is about the university level.
Yes, they think of it as being a university equivalent class. So you're taking the class in high school, you pass the exam, and if you get a good mark on the exam, that you get to university and they say this person's already taken that class, and they give you the credit for it on your transcript. Okay. And so like instead of, I forget how many credits you need to graduate, but I already started with that many credits on my transcript.
All right. And you had that classes at your high school, right? The school that you were studying.
Yes.
Yeah, because here, like, again, let me just switch to language a little bit. Как бы у нас немножко система отличается в том плане, что, да, у нас есть определенный ряд школ, которые обучают по системе Advanced Placement, но на самом деле экзамен Advanced Placement не подразумевает, что ученик должен обязательно учиться в этих классах. То есть, в принципе, он может его пройти независимо, сам экзамен, то есть просто зарегистрироваться на экзамен, если он чувствует, что он готов, конечно, пройти определенную подготовку, возможно, самостоятельно или с частными тьюторами, и, соответственно, пойти на экзамен и его уже сдать. So what I said was about like it's not required here to study in the AP class, but you can just enter the exam on your own willingly. It's not like the A-level IB, which you are mandatory to study the class, because half of the mark is being given in the class, and another half is given as the result of your exams, external exams. Yeah.
Right. So what the university sees is only the score you get on the exam. That's all they care about.
All right. So can you tell us the other AP classes that you took in the school?
I took English language and composition, European history, American history, Latin Virgil, Latin Horace and Catullus, calculus BC, psychology.
Well, I guess physics.
Physics, what they call physics C at the time, which I think has changed name since.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's what, 8? I think that's all. I might have missed one, but.
Okay, so how many years in this high school you spent to take 8 AP classes?
It was spread out mostly over grades 11 and grade 12. I took one in grade 10, which was unusual, but like my school allowed it, which was European history. And grade 11, I took American history, calculus BC, and one of the Latin classes. And then my senior year, I took the English language, another Latin, psychology, and physics.
All right. So the most difficult you skipped to the last year, I guess.
Well, it's a lot of schools only let students in grades 11 or grade 12 take them because the classes are very demanding because what you're really learning is something at a university level, which is higher than most high school students are used to having. So you need to, it's a lot of work, and you have to spend a lot of time to do well in those classes. I studied really hard in school.
So you already said that taking AP classes helped you like accepting your score as a university credit. So from that point of view, can you like a little bit broadly explain what does it mean in terms of the time you study at university, the financial part of that, etc.?
Yeah, it depends on each university's policy, but many universities in the United States will let you use those credits. So you have a couple of options, like you can essentially use those credits if you have enough of them to graduate early. And in most cases, you pay, in the United States, you pay by semester and you pay by the credit hour. So if you say, for example, have enough credits for one full semester, you can graduate one semester early and not pay for that last semester. That's not what I did. What I did is I used those credits because I had those credits. It gave room in my schedule to take other elective classes that I found interesting. It also allowed me to have not one, but two majors, which you can do without AP exams, but it gave me a lot more flexibility to take more classes so I could complete two majors instead of one. And what some students did, which I didn't, but the first semester, they used AP credit to take a lower number of classes. So for us, what's considered a normal load is what's called 15 credits, which most classes are 3 credits, which means you have
at least 5 classes.
Yeah, and well, some students did is they used AP credit. They already had one of those classes. Instead of taking 15 credits, they took 12 credits their first semester to sort of ease themselves into university life and the demands of universities. They weren't as stressed the first semester.
Okay, so mostly, as I understood, the AP classes and their scores are accepted as the first or either second semester of university and not further.
Correct. So they're used mostly for what we call like core classes, or the classes everybody has to take. So like everybody has to take a university writing class. At my university at the time, everybody had to take university writing class. Everybody had to take a certain some math class. Everybody had to take a foreign language class for 2 semesters. So I was able to like completely skip the foreign language requirement. I was able to not take the university writing class. And I was able to start mathematics and the 3rd semester instead of the 1st.
Okay.
But yeah,
Right,
they're all
so
going to be, and what we call entry level, or like we call them core classes.
I see. Okay. And talking from the financial point of view, as you said, some students are able to like finish their study earlier, like 1 semester maybe earlier. So talking from the financial point of view, how much money in average that could save them? Well,
Oh,
I understand that it depends on the university, but
yeah.
somewhere in average, if you can say yes.
If you're going to a university, I would say my guess is right now the average tuition at a U.S. university is probably around $25,000 to $30,000 per year.
Mhm.
And so that's approximately $12,000 to $15,000 per semester. So you could easily, if you have 5 AP classes worth 3 credits, you could potentially finish an entire semester early, which would give you a savings of about $15,000 for the cost of the whole degree, if you were paying the full price of scholarship.
Yeah, which is quite good from like local point of view, because not a lot of people.
From any point of view, that's good.
Well, yeah. Even though comparing like the US salaries and our salaries, still that's a lot of money talking from local point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Now switching to the part that you are being a teacher currently. So have you ever taught students AP classes, SAT in US or in other countries abroad?
I have not actually, no. The schools I taught at for various reasons did not offer AP, either because they used a different curriculum like Cambridge, or they just didn't offer the AP classes in the subjects I taught. So I really don't.
So you didn't have that opportunity. Okay, never mind, I guess. Even though, okay, one last question maybe for our students, like any piece of advice that you would give our students from the perspective of student and teacher to prepare for that exams to attend US universities?
a couple pieces of advice. The first one I would say is, if you have the ability to, try to take both the SAT and the ACT to see which one kind of suits you better. I don't know, in the US, they often have waivers so you don't pay the fee. I don't know if that's available to international students or not, because they are expensive exams. Second thing I would say is start really early, because the US university admissions process is much more drawn out, prolonged than I think it is here. So for us, students would usually take the SAT for the first time in, say, April of grade 11, and then take it again in the fall of grade 12, and they would apply to universities. Some places have what's called early admission, where you can apply earlier and you have a better chance of being accepted. So you actually apply by December 1st of grade 12. And then usually the later deadline is often like January 1st, January 15th, February 1st. So you have to already have like given in all of your documents and submitted your scores well, like 9 months before you would start university. So it's really important to start really early, make sure you have time to take the exams and get the results when you need them by. The second thing I would say is there are lots and lots of scholarships available for students from various backgrounds. And every year, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of scholarships aren't even used because people don't claim them. So there's a lot of sites you can go on to find scholarships that suit your needs, because universities in the United States are very expensive and they very rarely offer financial aid to non-US residents. So, but there are a lot of scholarships, and if you look ahead, you can there are scholarships available that might fit who you are, where basically you'd have some organization that's willing to give you money to study, but you have to let them know, hey, I exist, I want to use your money, I want to study at this school. And again, that's something that the earlier you start, the more likely you are to find a scholarship that can help pay for part, or if you're really, really lucky, all of the cost of university.
So basically, like if the student is not like extraordinary one who clearly stands out of the crowd, he needs to propose himself to that, or herself to that university.
Well, in the university admissions process, the more you can stand out, the better. So US universities, they look at exam scores for the SAT, they look at your marks in school, and they also look at, usually they ask you to submit a resume of what kind of things you do outside of school. So US universities are often really interested in not just your ability to study, but your ability to contribute to the university community based on what you do outside, whether you play sports, play music, act in the theater, volunteer with some local organization. All of those things kind of make you more attractive to a university because they think you're going to add something to the university learning community beyond just getting good marks. Obviously, they want you to get good marks too, but they're looking for like well-rounded individuals. So having something to say about yourself besides, I studied physics and I got a 5, which that's great, but a lot of these universities are going to have lots and lots of students who also studied physics and got a 5. What's going to set you apart? What's going to make you stand out?
I see. Okay, yeah, Jeff, thank you very much for joining and sharing your ideas, your experience, everything else with our students.